Call to order the Health and Emergency Services Committee, April the 3rd at 5 o'clock. Mr. Hyde, if you could give the invocation, please.
Father, we thank you for the opportunity that we have to be here this evening, and we thank you especially for your many blessings to us. We would remember at this time the recent occurrences and the tragedies that we've had in the area. We just pray, Lord, that your hand will be upon families, the school officers, and everyone that was involved. We pray tonight now in this meeting that you will give us guidance and direction in the business of this great county. We pray in thy name. Amen.
Amen. All right. The agenda, I believe, will stand as it is. Anybody have any additions, deletions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve. Have a motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Clerk, I'll be at aye. I just didn't say it. For approval of the minutes from March 6th, so moved.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. All right, recognition of the public. Folks, let me explain something to you first. A lot of these items that's on the agenda tonight is very sensitive security-wise. I do not want to do anything or have any comments that said that can compromise the safety or security of any officer or paramedic of this county. If I see you going that way, that you're going to be talking about the safety and security of the vehicle or the contents of the vehicle and what it can do, I will call you out of order and your time will stop. I'm sorry. There's no sense in somebody's life being put at danger because you want to talk about the safety and security of a vehicle. It's not the time, it's not the place. Having said that, Ron Strong?
Strong, yes, sir.
You're first up, please.
Right.
Just to advise you,
Is there a hot seat somewhere?
we're right up here.
Yeah, right.
I was trying to say that.
Hot spot.
Yeah, if you'll come up and state your name and address.
Right over here by me.
I've done that before.
I'm trying to get there. And you'll have 5 minutes to speak. Also, some of you are signed up to speak about the topic of the security of the schools. Same thing. If you start going off in the weeds, I'll call you out of order and your time will stop. I believe in you being able to speak, but the kiddos and the officers are more important. That's the way it is. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much, Darrell. Thank you so much for bringing this to my attention the last couple of days. I'm going to be talking. You guys are my family out here. Man, you remind me of the men and women that when I was in Afghanistan, some of you guys, especially the ones with the longer hair and the glasses. Appreciate y'all being here. But I'm going to talk, my focus is going to be over here. But y'all right there with me because y'all got my back. I'm here to talk to you, baby, about the $330,000, the federal funding dollars that come down for the potential Bearcat. What I'd like to do is, this is a perspective of being in almost 32 years in the Marine Corps, in the Army, and as a retired senior officer in the U.S. Armed Forces. Also a citizen of Sumner County. Some of y'all faces out there are very familiar. Appreciate you letting me speak to you. Bottom line is, as I see it, most, and I don't know the details, but most of the funding that comes down on the federal Homeland Security is a fenced funding project. It's very difficult to change that funding as it comes down. I just ask that you as a committee take a strong look at that. I don't know that answer. Y'all would by the funding documents. Most of it is fenced, multi-year type appropriations that have to be obligated by a certain time. I know that because I'm a federal budget officer in prior life. Course of Action 1. I believe the Course of Action 1, what the EMS needs and requires is a Bearcat. I'm not going to get into that. Y'all know probably more about it than I do. There's also been a topic brought up about buying multiple skin, I call them thin skin vehicles because I used them in Afghanistan. And thin skin vehicles, we can get 3 or 4 for the price of one. I got that. I know where you're coming from economically, from a fiscal standpoint. But one bad thing that I've seen through the years, and I hope that the committee takes a little strong look at, is that a lot of these thin skin, off the shelf SUVs, so to say, ingress and egress of vehicles is difficult at best. It's difficult at best, even just coming out with regular clothes on. coming out with armored gear, security gear that these men and women are using, and their weapon systems. It's very difficult to do. Please take that into consideration. Another course of action that's been brought to my attention is train the teachers. I won't talk much more about that, but I'll say train the teachers. The real reality of that is if that program had kicked off, you'd probably get senior teachers that took up that training. They'll receive that training, and then they'll move on to other jobs, probably come over to EMS after they retire. So that means before long, the county will be sucking up the second generation training of that. Remember, this is a one-time funding project that comes in. It's not reoccurring. Training is reoccurring. Just keep that in mind, please. Look at the Bearcat. All I'm gonna say is look at the base Bearcat. And then look at the options that's needed and required. Ask these men and women out here, the ones that really know that use this equipment on a daily basis, maybe not, they train on a daily basis. Thank goodness we don't use it on a daily basis. I said the other night, and Darryl heard me, that I'd rather have a piece of equipment and not need it than need a piece of equipment and not have it. Y'all agree with that? Because we've been there. We know what that's like.
About a minute left.
I'd like to close with, I call this a Ronism because my first name is Ron. I have these every once in a while. My girls get on to me. I call it the warrior law enforcement analogy. You know, you think about it. We have no issues with purchasing more than adequate equipment protecting warriors. Warriors being Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen. Happens to be two of those. When it comes to humanitarian missions, protecting foreign families and children, but we nitpick our funding for adequate equipment for our EMS personnel. When it comes to protecting American families and American children, think about that. We do that. It's kind of crazy. The end game is the same, ladies and gentlemen, committee members. Potential death and harm to our most valuable resources. That's our families. And I can relate to both because I got a 9-year-old at Bethpage Elementary. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Phil Steen.
Hi,
Just say your name and address.
Phil Steen,
Take off.
and at 112 Buckhaven Court. And yeah, I mean, my main concerns are just obviously this week, everything going on. I'm just a scared parent with kids in school, so it's just understanding what our county's goal is as far as improving security. I know we have SROs, which are fantastic. I just would like to see that augmented. Maybe some security reviews at our schools from a third party that can actually, do an assessment and let us know what we can be doing better. And I think as far as it comes to the Bearcat, federal funds come with strings attached usually, so I just encourage y'all to understand what those strings are and whether we as a county want to have those strings attached. I don't know that I'm qualified to speak for or against it, specifications wise, right? Because I don't know. But I just want to know that we're spending our money to protect our kids as well. I think that's important. So if there's any way we could utilize those funds for that, which seems to be a more present need at the moment, that's my thought.
Perfect. Thank you. Adam Goodwin. State your name and address, please.
We all pass, or can I do that again?
Yeah.
All right, my name is Adam Goodwin, 1035 Avery Trace Circle. Lifetime Hendersonville resident, was born and raised there. Hendersonville Police Department, 7 years, 6 years, the last 6 years SWAT team. Currently the father of 2 children, and currently enrolled in Sumner County schools. Item D, armored APC aboard the Bearcat was the initial agenda item I felt the need to come to support tonight. After stumbling through the steps of figuring out how one comes to address the board, I realized there's another agenda item I must also mention as well. Please bear with me as I touch on both of these items tonight. On March 31st, I saw a Facebook post created by a county commissioner discussing the Sumner County ERT team requesting to purchase an APC through a federal grant. The attention-grabbing subject matter was around the militarization of law enforcement. His research found what he believed to be an alternative to the requested vehicle. Sumner County ERT members and law enforcement who have a large amount of tactical operational experience responded in favor of the APC. His research did not mention ever discussing the alternative vehicle with any of the members of the ERT. If this step was taken, it would have likely revealed that the reason and concerns by the ERT members, the choice would have been clear on why the APC would have been an upgrade. Less than a month ago, I was involved in an incident in Sumner County. We used an armored vehicle where we had a barricaded subject. He murdered his ex-girlfriend just a couple hours prior than that. He actually shot at the front door of the house because he thought that the SWAT team was standing at his front door. Felt a lot safer to stand behind an armored vehicle than it was not behind an armored vehicle. That there was limited positions of cover in front of that residence, so the only thing that we had to actually get behind that would stop a bullet was an MRAP or armored vehicle. This is just one recent event. There have been many more, and unfortunately there will be needs in the future. This item is deserving of your full support. My county politics and procedures etiquette are a bit lacking, so I Googled how to sign up to speak at this meeting. When reading through the agenda, I was a bit taken back when I saw agenda item E, discussion options for improved security at Sumner County schools. Let me read that again. Discussion options for improved security at Sumner County schools. This leads me to my second topic. Following the horrific tragedy a week ago today, as a father and as a police officer, the overwhelming sense to somehow purposefully act and contribute positively to my community in the face of such a devastating event was not something I could shake. I was working when I was notified of the shooting, and I spent the rest of the evening or afternoon, mid-morning, driving around different schools, creating an increased presence. The following days were spent at local schools during morning drop-off times and special events. Numerous parents and school officials personally thanked me just for being there. Some went further to discuss how our presence provided some comfort for them as a parent and some for their child as well. I actually had a child that probably just old enough to know what actually happened come up and thank me for being in school. Probably won't forget that. I spoke with the principal and various SROs and discussed lockdown and safety procedures and different concerns with the current school security measures. I want to make this very clear, I'm not being critical of the current Sumner County school measures. I just want to make sure that everything's being done possible in the future, that we don't have to witness an incident like this. Had a great meeting with the Sumner County School Board member the morning of March 31st to discuss concerns and findings specific to school safety. It was a positive conversation between two parents who were looking at ways to keep everyone's children safe. None of my actions or inquiries the previous days were done with the intention of speaking about this publicly, but I think this shows context on why I'm speaking tonight. The aforementioned Facebook post had captivated the attention of several local and active retired law enforcement officers that seemed to imply that those like myself, who had spent the last several days seeking any actions to provide protection and comfort to the most vulnerable, would somehow be the same people to utilize a potentially life-saving piece of equipment against the same community to violate their constitutional rights. Felt divisive, insulting, and a missed opportunity to speak about school security. So tonight, I would like to make a recommendation on an area improvement in school security. For the sake of time, I will follow up with the school board member on discussion or suggestions we discussed. However, there is a specific request I propose to you as a board. My suggestion is that all schools that fall under Sumner County budgeting be granted the same level of security system with superior technology that has been afforded for some. Without compromising any security information, I'll say that a side-by-side evaluation and comparison of the currently utilized security measures of all Sumner County schools would absolutely leave glaringly obvious variances in some security areas. Every student, teacher, janitor, substitute, or innocent person that enters into a Sumner County school should be afforded the same level of security across the county, regardless of the age or location of the school. I would beg that this board have the same vested interest and diligence in supporting all existing schools across the county and be granted the same quality security system that they have been granted to the newest school. Thank you for your time tonight. What I passed out was what I went over was principals, SROs. I did walkthroughs through the schools and evaluated what I thought was vulnerabilities, deficiencies that we could actually improve on. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to go through this rest of these public comments with any inferences
being made towards commissioners, and allegations being made about what they may or may not have intended. I, like several of the commissioners, have posted or reposted information about these vehicles just to generate public comment with no decision being made on it. So I don't want any inferences made by the public as to what somebody was intending by a post. I think it was done for the purpose of generating
Direct your
public
comments
comment.
this way, it's not that way.
Generating public comment so that people, our constituents, could advise us on how to vote on this, because we're here to represent them. So just if the public would keep that in mind, I would appreciate it.
Brian Reynolds. Go ahead, Tim.
My name is Brian Reynolds, 118 Historic Drive. I'm here to talk today about the, it's just my part of the discussion. To me, I feel like it works a little better, showing something, just gives me something to go off of, and you all can see as well. On the next slide. So the high profile armored personnel carrier, APC, obviously it has more usage than just us taking and going to a SWAT call out, all right? So primary use being to transport tactical, which is our emergency response team, officers to and from hostile situations, and to assist with the recovery and protection of civilians in harm's way. This could be a hostage situation, barricaded subject, active shooter, high-risk warrant apprehension. Obviously, it's stuff that is a lot more dangerous than our normal officer or deputy can respond to. The APC can operate in situations where traditional rescue apparatuses cannot. This is including high winds, high water, blizzards, mudslides. Here, that really goes into effect when it comes to the high water. Think of all the areas we have around here that floods and how dangerous it could be taking and trying to get a regular vehicle in that area. So I want you to take that into consideration as well when looking at that. Allows rescuers to perform immediate search and rescue through hazardous conditions, following events such as wildfires and tornadoes. We have had tornadoes come through here and absolutely destroy this area. I'm out in Castaic Springs, and we all know the damage that was done out there not long ago. Okay, so this is something that it could help us continue to get out there, and where other vehicles will not allow that. Next slide, please. Armored SUV or vehicle. Okay. Facebook posts. So my attention was drawn to this due to a Facebook post. Obviously, there's this picture on there of the Bearcat and the Chevy Suburban. You go to the next post. An armored SUV, this is what was on the post. Armored SUV or pickup can provide protection that doesn't look as aggressive, is more maneuverable, is less expensive, it can be used in more operations. So there was this company, it's Armored Cars, does have a SWAT Suburban, but this is the Suburban that they have, not the one that was in the Facebook post. But that's the quote that was used on the Facebook post. So I felt like it was good to provide that image and just show that it's a little bit different. Okay. Mr. Johnson, so I talked to Mr. Johnson of the Armored Group, and his quote, what he told me, the exact words he said, was that the BAT, which is a ballistic armored tactical transport vehicle, is the #1 tool. The reason I reached out to Armored Group is because that was where the quote come from. I did a search for that quote, and that's where it came from. And it talks about he talks about the level of armor. When it comes to the SWAT Suburban, he advised that it does not come as armored, and it cannot take as many rounds or a higher round than what a BAT can or a Bearcat. Okay. Mr. Johnson said that he can upgrade the armor, but it is more expensive. He said based off the needs of ERT that he believes the BAT is a better option, and he said it's the #1 tool, and it's something that every active team needs. you go to the next slide, please. Shots fired call, just so, I'm gonna run through this real quick, just so y'all are aware. In Sumner County from January 1st, 2020, I have them all right here. To present, there have been 1,273 shots fired or heard calls for service. And that includes 2 agencies in Sumner County that responded yesterday to shots fired calls. We'll go to the next slide. Oh, here it is. How many law enforcement officers have been shot at in the last 5 years? 92. I remember seeing on the post how many people have been shot due to not having protection. That really upset me. I'm not gonna lie, because that should not be the justification to get something. That is a fact. My friends and my coworkers are the people that I talk to, and that's how I got that number. In the last 5 years, and this is actually might be lower, okay? 92 that have been shot at in the last 5 years. If that's not eye-opening, I don't know what is. You can close it. That's good. All right, I'm out of time.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate the take.
Would y'all like this? Would y'all like this? This is the.
That'd be great. I'd like to see that.
Yes, ma'am.
Matt Show.
Matt Shows from 100 Justice Drive, Hendersonville, Tennessee. Can you guys hear me? So, a good buddy of mine back when I was in the military and I was all gung-ho about going to other countries to save them would tell me, people have the government they deserve. And the corollary to that is, if you want to know why politicians lie, it's because we keep reelecting them. So, I probably won't win re-election, but I'm going to try to not lie to you guys tonight. And here's a true statement, and it's relevant to both the schools and the Bearcat discussion. And it's a statement that nobody in here wants to acknowledge, but deep down, a lot of the first responders here, anybody who's been in the military should acknowledge it. And it is this statement: you cannot mitigate risk down to 0. You can't do it. You cannot do it. What you can do, and anybody who tells you, if we don't do this, it's going to necessarily kill somebody, that's probably not the best direction. Instead, what you do is you rationally assess what your problem set is or your threat is, and you apply resources to it. So I'm not here to talk about the Bearcat in specific. We got plenty of people here with a lot of experience to talk about that. I want to talk about schools. We had a great, somebody up here speaking earlier, I appreciated the penetration test. After what happened, I was in Nashville when this happened. Anytime this happens, there's this tendency to want to react. And instead, the best thing to do is to take a step back and rationally assess what we can do in order to make a better, how we can apply resources to make a better environment. So there are a lot of great ideas, some that we've heard from citizens, bulletproof glass, more training for SROs, penetration testing. Looks like somebody took that on themselves, and great for them. I have an idea that I would like to see considered, which is to potentially deputize some of the folks who are currently in the schools, some staff that are in school, not a whole bunch of people, just 1 or 2, maybe per school, who have that kind of background already and who would be willing to step up and take some training during the summer to become reserve deputies. There's a lot of others, and so what I'd encourage this body to do is to form an ad hoc committee. I was the person who added item E, or asked it to be added. Thank you for doing that, Commissioner Rogers. I encourage this body to put together an ad hoc committee, and I will volunteer to be on it, to take all of these suggestions and come back with some realistic plans that we could take here at the county level, maybe some things we could ask for at the state level, to improve our security posture for the schools. I think there's a lot of great ideas out there. Understand also that this will take resources. Let's talk real quick about bulletproof glass. I think a good estimate there is about $650,000 per school for both of the last, about a bit less than half of that if you were to use the film. I know some people have suggested that. I'm willing, to put all that stuff on the table and let's look at it. Understand it will come at cost. It'll come at cost. And how well will it work? So let's not be reactionary about it. Let's think through it and put together a comprehensive plan. But there is one thing that I think we could do yesterday, because I had a similar discussion, kind of going through, talking to some SROs and talking to some folks. Right now, our officers cannot have
Careful.
we
I'll
need.
call you out of order. Careful.
We need to be able to do what I'm talking about, though.
Well, I understand that. But if it compromises safety and security of a deputy, I'll call you out of order.
Is there a conversation?
It's definitely a conversation, but if we do the ad hoc committee, it's got to be noticed. At some juncture, we got to be able to have some of these conversations openly, or else it doesn't get solved. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
That's what I wanted to say. There you go.
Joanna Daniels.
Hi there, Joanna Daniels, 152 Shadow Haven Way, Hendersonville. I did not hear all of your parameters, so if I mess up on a parameter, just tell me to be quiet. So, I'm here. Huh?
Just be careful about safety.
Okay. So I'm here to talk about Bearcat. I'm trying to be loud enough so people in the hallway can hear us because we can't hear anything out there. So I'm here to talk about the Bearcat, which I am completely against. I don't believe that it is something that we need to have here in Sumner County. One, it comes with federal funds, which I am not for federal funding coming into Sumner County. I believe that every federal fund comes in here, comes with strings attached. To my knowledge, we don't even have a contract. We have no idea what this contract is going to entail. As most of you know, a lot of times I'm involved in the schools. So, to me, I, don't know if this contract is going to be including educating kids on this vehicle. As I was walking in here, I'm looking at this vehicle and I'm going, that doesn't make me feel nice, okay? That actually militarization and having military presence. Now, mind you, I'm not against the military. I come from a military family. I have my daughter is in military, my husband was military, my sisters are military. I'm all about the military. I'd like to keep the military in the military. So, my thing is that, you know, my daughter-in-law is from China, straight Chinese. I rescued my son and daughter-in-law from Australia in 2021, and that is a very, very intense example of what happens when you militarize local police. Now, I'm also for police. I love police. I'm blue lives all the way. So, but here's the thing is that this is a military presence. Give it to Williamson County. Let them deal with it, okay? Let them deal with what comes with it and the ramifications that come with it, and deal with the federal funds and deal with the strings that come attached to the federal funds. So, in my opinion, we don't need a Bearcat. I moved here to Sumner County from California, chose it over Williamson County, because Williamson County reminded me too much of California, okay? I came here, Sumner County, because it was about family, and it was also about our own liberties. So, my opinion, Bearcat doesn't have any need here in Sumner County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Next up is Stan Jones.
Thank you. I'm Stan Jones, 1024 Heathrow Drive in Hendersonville. I am a retired special agent with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, where I served for 20 years. Before that, I was a police officer for 12 years, which included 4 years on the Gallatin Police Department on the SWAT team, as well as the Orlando, Florida Police Department on that SWAT team. I was a Metro Nashville police officer for 3 years. 25 years ago this week, I was the police officer lying on the front porch of a house, having been shot on the job, executing a search warrant. I know that feeling of wanting help and wanting it soon and wanting it competent and capable. I worked 3 years doing protection for the head of the DEA in Washington, D.C. I worked out of a fully armored 2500 series GMC Suburban, fully armored, top and floor. And I will tell you, that kind of vehicle only buys you time. I know the specifics on the ballistics for the glass surface area of that vehicle that is bullet resistant. Please do not use the phrase bulletproof. There's no bulletproof glass. There's not. It buys you time. I will not get into the specifics on calibers and levels of resistance, but it is seconds that buys you in a fully armored SUV. No comparison to the Bearcat. Look at the surface area of the glass of the SUV. Look at the limited surface area of the Bearcat. In the situation with an SUV, and having been with the DEA for 20 years, I've deployed for search warrants in a full kit that was discussed earlier. Helmet, ballistic vest, equipment, 2 guns, a rifle, a ram, a ballistic shield. The SUV will deploy 3 personnel. 3. There's a driver. The driver, if it's armored, the driver has to stay with the vehicle. You don't abandon an armored vehicle in the driveway while you go execute a federal search warrant, or state search warrant, I'm sorry. There is absolutely no comparison. The barn doors of the old days of the Suburbans that were armored, those days are gone. It is now a hatchback gate. They can't armor that because there's nothing that's strong enough to lift that. So then you have a secondary door that is inside of the SUV that is armored. So to get out the back, you have to open 2 doors. That's completely impractical, especially in rescuing a downed officer. With a Bearcat, you can go around and provide complete cover for the entire team, which is much larger than with 3, which it takes at least 3 to rescue somebody. If you have a room for 4 and you're rescuing someone, you now have no room to put them in the vehicle with you to egress. The Bearcat doesn't have that issue. You would never want to be in a fully armored SUV anywhere in this county off of pavement, period. I have been stuck in the dirt in Afghanistan in a thin-skinned, fully armored SUV that was after the factory, my aftermarket installed with armor, not capable to drive through sand, and was rescued by a German Bearcat. I have worked out of one for 3 years. I've worked at and deployed. There is no room in the SUV. It is thin-skinned. It is not competent. Its design and use in this country and other countries and foreign is to protect a protectee and get them away from danger. It is to leave danger. It is to escape a threat. These men and women are going to danger. They are going to a threat. They are going to where it's bad. They're not trying to leave and protect somebody. They're going in harm's way, and they need to be as protected as they can be, as far as they can be. Thank you. I'll give 1 more minute. There's not much. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. But there really is no comparison in deploying from the 2 vehicles. They have their purposes. And again, the less aggressive SUV is designed to protect somebody while you transport them. It is not to go respond and go after the evil in which we live in. And as far as militarization, the militarization is not equipment. Militarization is by statute. That is a government statute issue. That is not here. We live in order. 3 of the last search warrants that I executed as a special agent with the DEA out of the Nashville office here in Middle Tennessee all involved magazine-fed semi-automatic rifles, 223 caliber or greater, with suspects who possess body armor inside the house that we were hitting. That's the world in which we work and live, and these gentlemen and ladies are responsible for going in. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Assistant Chief Soros.
I'm Bill Sarles, live at 959 Franklin Road, also work with the Gallup Police Department and team commander for the Sumner County SWAT team, or ERT team. Most of everything that I would have said has already been said, but I tell you, we formed this team in 1995 and we had nothing. And through the years, we built up a few things. We improvised for ballistic protection, which wasn't much. We were finally able to obtain the MRAP, which gave us a lot of protection. When I was an operator on the team, or I was a team leader, actually doing the operations, I didn't think a lot about asking people to do things. But when I became the team commander and I started saying, hey, I need you to do these things, but you have no protection when you go do it, knowing the guy has a rifle that can penetrate anything we have capability to stop, was not a good feeling. So I would ask you, as the team commander and as a member of this team, these guys work hard. They're prepared, they're trained, they're ready to come and stand in front of you. I'm just asking you, please give them the equipment that they need. Just give them the equipment they need and the things that they deserved years ago that we never been able to get. We finally have the opportunity to get this. If we don't get it, it's going to go to Williamson County. And guess what? When we need it, Williamson County is going to bring it here. But it's going to take an hour to get it here. And God forbid something happened before that thing gets back, when we could have had it right here and ready to help everybody right away. If somebody, our job, there's no offensive capability on anything we have. That MRAP out there, they took the machine gun off of it when we got it. Wouldn't let me have it. This Bearcat has no offensive capability. It is for defensive purposes, to protect the officers, and God forbid, protect anybody in this county that we're trying to get out of a situation. So please just give them what they need to operate, to work for you. That's all they're asking you to do. I don't have a PowerPoint for you. I don't have any handouts. I'm just saying, please give them what they need to do their job. That's all we need. Thank you.
Charlene Allmiller. State your address, please.
I'm Charlene Allmiller. I live at 143 Roland Circle, Hendersonville, Tennessee, 37075. I've already emailed the committee here to say that I'm inclined to defer to those who put their lives in jeopardy to know what they need to save themselves, and I'm inclined to protect those who are protecting me. As far as any strings are attached, I've read the executive order that was in the agenda, and it seems pretty straightforward. If they need a Bearcat, they need a Bearcat. I am worried about militarization of the police as well, but I don't think that any piece of equipment can make somebody go around thinking that there's military here, but there are terrorist crimes that are happening in our area that we need to be able to protect ourselves quickly. So a Girl Scouts troop mom contacted me yesterday to let me know that there was a shooting in Rivergate, and I won't say the store's name because I don't want to do bad business for them, but I told my husband, and he's like, I almost took the girls there. So it's not just at our schools where things are happening, and our people need to be able to protect not just our kids, but everybody. And so I do hope that you will consider giving strong weight to those who are actually putting their lives on the line. As for the schools, I, for the record, agree with Matt Shove. I agree with one of the commenters here today that you cannot mitigate risk to zero, ever. And as much as I would love to bubble wrap my kids before they leave the door, they also need to live. And as somebody who volunteers pretty regularly in the classroom, you can deputize teachers, but they're there to do other things, and they're not going to be able to, I work in the little kid classrooms, they're not going to be able to do the things that people are going to expect them to do even if you deputize them. And I appreciate the penetration test. I also see weaknesses that I will not say, but I don't think you can ever eliminate to zero, because if there is somebody who wants to hurt you, they will hurt you. They will find a way. They will find whatever you are doing, and they will think of another way. My first career was an accountant, and I worked in Australia for 4 months, and there is no militarization there. But they're the kindest people in the world. So, aside from us, I guess. But I would say that I lost my train of thought. I'm thinking about the Australian thing. Our kids need our help, and the risk. We're never going to be able to get it to zero. But one thing that we can do is just help prepare our kids for when it happens, help them know multiple different ways to respond. And that's really hard with the younger ones, I understand. you guys have a very, very tough job to do tonight. I do hope that you'll look to one of the commissioners who works in this line of duty every day to see what he thinks. And if somebody's gonna wanna hurt you, they're gonna wanna hurt you, but we can try to minimize the damage. And I do think that if the people who risk their lives every day are saying that this will help, let it be done. Because I'd rather be here beforehand than afterwards to say we should have done this. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Good evening, y'all. Kevin Baker, 424 A.B. Wade Road. I just wish over the last 8 years this room was so filled when we had real pressing issues. I was going to talk about whether we need a tank or not. I certainly understand the needs of our emergency personnel. I spent 35 years on a volunteer rescue squad up in Connecticut. Oh, and by the way, how many of y'all come here when your team is playing for a national championship? Or when it's your wife's 60th birthday? We do. We care about every citizen in Sumner County. Okay, and I'm not gonna talk about whether we need an MRAP or not. I mean, you're right. But think about the strings attached. Did we ever think that we would have the federal government and a state government of New York going after a former president of the United States, going in with guns drawn to these residencies? Okay, and so, yeah, our people turned too. The FBI, a lot of those people went in and supported it. So civil rights, and we have to report civil rights to get this grant, whether we're complying or not. It's only a matter of time before they come and ask for those strings, but that's not what I want to talk about. I'm really surprised we're not talking more about safety in our schools, especially when the risk is coming from within. As a famous line in the movie says, we have zips in the wire. I wish all these people would come to the school board meetings and talk about all the things that aren't getting done. Up until this year, we did not have an SRO in every school. Me and my wife sat through countless meetings talking about why can't we pay taxes for it. So I wish everybody would get involved, but that's not the big thing that I want to talk about either. The big thing I want to talk about is item number F, EMS operations. That resolution scares me. We have three distinct branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial. I read that thing as saying legislative is looking to take over and manage something. I'm okay with that, but are y'all going to sit in every meet with the chief every week and decide how it's going to be done? You got to get together, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, and figure this out. We got to work together to get this thing so all the citizens of Sumner County benefit. So we're not fighting amongst each other. We have real enemies. They just arrested a president of the United States, former president. How long before they start coming for each and every one of us? That's all I have. But listen, I look forward to seeing you all here every week, every month, at all the meetings. School board is the place to be because our children are under attack. We have an administration that basically says it's okay that most of our kids can't read and math sucks too. Our country's going down the toilet, going to hell. I'm not going with them. I'm going to stand up and fight for every single one of you, including the EMS emergency services. You need stuff. We should be talking about it without having the federal government telling us when and what to do with it, because they'll come for us eventually. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes public comments. Report of the chairman. So I believe each committee member should have copies of the emails that was discussed last month. I've printed those out to show the timeline of which that I was talking about that was brought up last month. So those will go in the minutes this month. That's all I have for my report. Report of the county mayor. One moment, please.
Were those emails part of the packet?
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, I'll pass it down to you.
All right, Chairman, members of the committee, and all of our guests, thank y'all for being here tonight. We appreciate you being here and paying attention to what's going on. Tonight I have several items to address, so let's start with the good stuff. Right now EMS is conducting some in-service training. I had the pleasure of speaking to our EMT and paramedic professionals for just a moment and thanked them for the work that they're doing, provided some donuts and bagels to start their day. Each one of our EMTs and paramedics strive to be the best, well-trained team, and through the leadership of Deputy Chief Hunter Henson, they're certainly achieving that goal. I'm also grateful for the diligent work of our emergency management professionals. We were lucky and we missed major damage from this latest round of storms that passed through the county. I think I received my last communication from Director Widener around 1 a.m. about a cell that was just south of us that looked to be okay. The EMT also provided critical support to our Hendersonville Police Department by deploying the mobile command center to the site involving the shooting last week. The officers were on site for approximately 9 hours, and the mobile command center provided critical support services during that time. I want to let the committee know that April 9th through 15th is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. I'm sure Christy will share a little bit more information in her report on this, but I hope each of you take time to send a note of thanks and treats to our telecommunication professionals. Watching them work on March 3rd, they've got a tough job, and recognition is due. On the heels of honoring our telecommunicators, May 15th is National Police Officers Memorial Day, and it's also part of National Peace Officers Memorial Week. For the past 3 years, I've been honored to chair the Police Memorial Golf Tournament at Country Hills Golf Course in Hendersonville to raise money and honor the memory of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice protecting our communities. I have some literature here on the table. If any of you are interested in sponsoring the tournament or playing in the tournament, love to have you part of the team. Now on to the events of the March committee meeting, and what I feel was unprofessional, and I hope an uncharacteristic outburst by our chairman. I'm still perplexed and not understanding the genesis of this tirade, and have yet to receive any communication explaining why. So let me give you a timeline concerning the appointment of Interim Chief John Michael Poss to lead our EMS. On February 17th, I met with Chief Miller to discuss the budget. During that meeting, I was informed of a number of recent departures. I asked him to set a meeting with his leadership team that afternoon to discuss these departures. Well, through that meeting, the conversation pivoted towards a new chief. And through that conversation, the support for John Michael Poss as our next chief was overwhelming. On 2/17, I met with on 2/21, I appointed John Michael Poss interim chief of EMS. I did this to ensure continuity of leadership after March 1st and to meet state and federal signatory requirements. On 2/21 through 23, I received several emails that were passed questioning the process. For the record, I want to share TCA 56106 for those that may not know. Pardon me. Well, I thought I had it right here with me. There we go. And I'm going to skip down to paragraph C, powers and duties of the county mayor. Except as otherwise provided by general law or special or private act, the county mayor shall appoint members of county boards and commissions and county department heads. Such appointees shall be subject to confirmation by the county legislative body. And in so doing, the legislative body may express its views fully and freely and shall vote for or against confirmation. The legislative body shall not seek or interview such prospective employees prior to their appointment by the county mayor. Such appointment confirmation are not applicable to employees appointed by other county officials. 223, I sent an email to commissioners. I'd gotten some requests that they wanted to speak to the leadership team. Well, I spoke with Chief Miller, asked Chief Miller when would be a good time, and I sent the email to the commissioners. I did not set that date and time. I asked Chief Miller when would he have his leadership team together, and that's the date that he gave me. 3-1. I asked Chairman Rogers to place the appointment of John Michael Poss on the EMS agenda for confirmation. 3-4. I received some requests for the job descriptions. 3-5. I sent the job description that I received from Chief Miller. I was unaware that Chief Miller updated the job description during his tenure. I do not have a copy of the previous job description, and I've not seen the previous job description. And frankly, it's not relevant to this discussion. 3-6. A small group of commissioners met with EMS leadership. At that meeting, 2 individuals expressed a desire to be the next chief. Out of respect to those individuals, I asked Chairman Rogers to remove Chief Poss's name from the agenda so I could meet with the other 2 gentlemen. Going forward, I'm amenable to forming a committee to discuss our next EMS chief, as well as the job description. However, I believe a committee that includes commissioners will be in direct conflict with TCA 56106. And then seeing the amended one, the amended agenda, I noticed that there's a resolution for day-to-day operations to revert to a committee, which means that the committee would have to make the decisions once a month when they meet, because they cannot make decisions on their own. So I posed a question to the state attorney with CTAS. I said, can the Health and Emergency Service Committee take control of day-to-day supervision of the EMS? The answer, no. They cannot take control of day-to-day supervision of the EMS. That would violate the Tennessee Constitution. And then the next line, in addition, when a county official attempts to exercise or exercises a power they do not have, they could be charged with official misconduct and could be subject to removal from office. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
So I have a question, if I could do a follow-up. I remember, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I remember when you took office, your speech was from grenade to governance. I'm ready to move that way whenever you are. So in your email, your timeline that you laid out, you said on 3/5 that you sent out an email, is that right?
I said 3/5, yes, I sent the, that's when I sent the
job description?
Job description, yes, sir.
So why did I receive it on March 6th at 7:31? Do we have IT issues?
I must have.
And you, I think you said in your own words that you sent a job description that Chief Miller advised that had been updated.
When I sent
during
it,
his tenure.
When I sent it, I did not know it had been updated.
But in your report that you just gave, that's what you stated.
I said that it has been updated, yes, but at the time that I sent it, I did not know that it had been updated.
So then on the email that I put out today on March the 6th at Hold on just a second. I forgot these. On March the 6th at 7:55 a.m., you replied to Chairman Hyde that this job description on record and was used in the hiring of Greg Miller.
Yes, and that was an inaccurate statement, because I did
I
not know.
just wanted
at
that
the
on the
time.
record as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll accept your report and we'll move on.
Yes, sir.
Report of the sheriff. Department heads, if we don't have anything that's pertinent or pressing or different in your report for the sake of time, I apologize. We're 5 minutes within the hour of our next committee trying to start.
Point of order. I got a question. We've had meetings other committee meetings, last a lot longer. I feel, I don't care if we're in here till 10 o'clock tonight and the other committees come in after us. These folks, we need to hear them. Chief Deputy, go ahead.
Also, just to let you guys know, we do have a buffer highway does not meet tonight, so we can spill over a little later if we need to with the other meetings.
All right, so I'm not saying that they can't give their report. I was trying to complete my sentence and saying if there's not anything pressing and the reports speak for
Then I
themselves,
apologize for
then we would
interrupting.
like to
Go
move
ahead.
on. So if you don't have anything that's pressing, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Go ahead, yes, please.
From the mayor report, is that okay?
Go ahead.
To ask it now? I'm sorry, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, or this may be best suited for the law director, but I'll ask the chairman the question if that's appropriate. Do we know if it is appropriate for someone in the chief's position to alter his own job description?
I was gonna get to that once we get to that point of the job descriptions for the chiefs from the mayor's office.
We'll handle it then.
Thank you. Go ahead, Chief.
You guys have the packet, I'll let you guys read through that. One thing that I do want to point out is that the sheriff's office received a call from someone in the community who's a business owner and a citizen that we have a very good relationship with. They called the day after the shooting happened in Covenant and said, I don't want to talk about doing things, I want to do something. He wrote a $20,000 check to the sheriff's office and specifically asked that that money be used for active shooter training. You guys will see that in your packets, and that's going to budget this month. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Report of the fire department. I did not receive a packet.
No, no report. I just started collecting the call numbers this morning. So.
Very well. Thank you, sir. Emergency Services Director.
You have my report. Just want to draw attention to the third page. The March revenue, first time ever we went over $1 million in revenue for 1 month. So we did very well there. Staffing, we're working on getting all that filled. All the Lucas 3 devices have been deployed and they're in service. We just finished our 2022 state audit, passed it. Everything was good there, and a shout out to DC Henson. He worked hard after getting his new position to get our training records and everything back up to par and passing the state.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Questions?
Report of emergency management.
Mr. Chairman, I'll try to keep this to 45 minutes.
That's fine. Okay. We can be here till
Somebody laugh, please, somebody. So the main thing is we got our damage assessments done from the March 3rd storms. We're about $3.5 million in infrastructure, primarily telephone poles through our 4 power providers. To respond to the 25 West Hood Road, I went to a meeting with the Government Highway Safety Office and had THP pull records on that, and there have been 3 fatalities within just a really close distance of Hood Road. So the state is actually investigating that to see what they can do. And I know you didn't want more enforcement, but THP and I'm not sure about the Sheriff's Office, but they're probably going to do some saturation out there to have presence. And quite honestly, people crashing straight sections of the road, that's just an area that we've always had bad crashes. And so they're working on it. Toby Ellis is working with TDOT, or TDEC and TDOT about getting something done there. And then finally, our hazard mitigation plan is due for a rewrite. So we've done our stakeholders meeting. We've got a Zoom meeting tomorrow to finish that. And then we'll start putting that together to redo our hazard mitigation plan. Hazard mitigation plan is a multi-jurisdictional plan that includes every municipality Ball State, the Board of Education in Sumner County, and it's a requirement that we have. So we're rewriting that, and it'll have to go to FEMA for approval. I'll also need a resolution on it, so I'll start pushing information out to you to start educating on hazard mitigation in the plan. And that's my report.
Thanks, sir. Anybody have any questions? I'm reluctant to answer that. ECC report?
Good evening. You already have your packets that have all of our call statistics for the last month. A couple things I did want to touch on. I know that school shooting has been a really big thing right now. I just want to let you know one of the initiatives that we took on from a June meeting with the schools last month with all of the emergency responders throughout the county. We spoke with the Board of Education about getting cameras in our dispatch center so we would have immediate access to those cameras in the school. We are very close to getting that completed. We already have our TV mounted. They've already got the connection. The County Board of Education just has a few things that they need to fix to make sure that we have full functionality to that. We don't have the personnel to sit and monitor that 24/7. However, we do have the immediate capability. It's something we're to be reported within the schools to be able to pull up that school's cameras so we can notify the first responders immediately as that information's come across. I just wanted to mention the National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week. It does start this Sunday. If you know a dispatcher, please express your appreciation to them. We also invite you to come by the center next week, speak with them yourself, show your appreciation. I know that they would really appreciate the acknowledgement.
This is not sensitive. This is very public knowledge. It's been all over the news everywhere. First, I want to thank you guys for what you do, because I can't imagine doing that kind of job. What happened at Covenant showed some weak points that we could address here at the county level that I'm sure they're addressing in Nashville. And again, this isn't sensitive, but it's about you see something, say something was always the report, and somebody did report this individual to the suicide hotline. There was not good communication between them and the law enforcement agencies. There was some jumbling between the county and the city, and where this, are you familiar with all of that? The timeline.
Not particular with that incident, but when the national hotline notifies us, we can only go by the information that they have provided to them by whoever is calling in, whether it be the person or someone else.
So I encourage you to look more into that timeline of events, how that happened, because there was a report made. It was information that was gathered on Instagram, and with social media being a more popular way for younger people to communicate, having addresses and phone numbers and ways to get a hold of somebody may not be like it used to be, and finding ways to track down somebody when somebody reports something needs to be a little more creative and think outside the box. And if you could look into that procedure and maybe cut down that response time, and suicide prevention line be tied to the correct agency, whether it be the sheriff's department or the city, municipality, police department, rather than being passed around trying to figure out what's the best possible way to go with this. If you could, somebody be the point of the spear on that and investigate that a little further and see if there's some ways we can improve that. Is that something you can look into?
Yeah, we could definitely look into it.
I do know a couple things. I do know when you call suicide hotline, because I deal with that, that you're calling them to get assistance to help for the person that's calling or the person that's calling in, and so it's not always they're going to go through emergency services. May I have the names of the folks that work for you so that possibly gets on a card or?
It's a long list, but we can get your list. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Old business, status of the ad hoc committee from the mayor. I asked about that. It was being formed. I was advised we would have it together. I'm still waiting to hear back. Status of the station tours. I don't have anything to update on that. If anyone else does.
I do.
Go ahead.
I did go last week to EMS to talk to the folks in the building department and the folks just to see how they do their stuff and talk to them about, you know, their documentation, how they do things and how they bill and how they proceed with different things. It was a wonderful meeting. I got a lot of great information. I encourage anybody to go by there and talk to them. They do a wonderful job, and the education pieces that they have at EMS. I have to, because I actually was watching Mr. Henson do a pediatric, we were doing a pediatric trach, and of course, you know, for ACLS. So I do feel like we need to make sure that the things that they need to do their training, because I appreciate that as well, if they know how to do things, we need to support that.
Sure. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there. Next month, let's try to come back with the idea of something we can move on to general operations.
Like the buildings and stuff.
Something that we can push that on through, because that's been hanging there for a little while. All right, under old business, also the status of driveway repairs on the southeast entrance way. I spoke to Toby Ellis today, our superintendent of the highway department. He said about $4,000 would get a good solid 3 loads of stone, as he called it, underneath, and then he would put a larger binder on top of it to help hold up the weight of the engines, so that could give those access to going in and out and not break down. Yes, sir.
One of the major issues was the way the drainage was run, and we all recognized from Mary's pictures and video that some significant landscaping needed to be done to prevent that from cutting across. Because eventually it's going to eat it up no matter
And
what you put on it.
the state highway, when they mow, they damage that as well, so the state needs to.
Could we push Toby to look at that a little further?
So when I talked to Toby, he was saying that that was part of what he was gonna do, is go in and cut it.
Grade it a
On
little
the
bit too.
edge,
Okay.
pull the grade back, 3 loads of rock, and then put the heavier binder on the top.
That may be good.
And 4,000 is what he said would be about to offset it. My thinking is, let's push it to budget, and let budget go ahead and move forward with that. There's a motion and second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. All right, finally down to new business. Authorizing a gift to Faye Snow under Class A uniform as additional compensation for services rendered to Sumner County for years of service, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Harris. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll be an aye. All those opposed, like sign. All right, new business. B is a new job description. I've asked for that from the mayor's office, and I don't have it.
That was what I sent out on the email.
When was it sent out?
Is it in our?
Oh, back on March 6th?
March 6th at 7:31 a.m.
Oh, okay. All right. So by your appointment then, is that what we're anticipating interim boss to be working under?
Yeah, that's the one that was on file. Yeah.
So again, my question is that what we're
Yes.
anticipating him to be working under?
Yes.
So that's his standards and he realizes that?
Yes.
Okay. And then so I guess as a chair, I'm curious, is that what we're going to use for the ad hoc committee as well? When we open that up, if we ever open that up to putting a...
Yeah, in my report, I said I'd be happy to review that. Yes.
I understand that, sir, and we'll move on. I think we'll probably have to have a conversation with ourselves.
Be happy to.
All right, item D, request for a resolution to purchase controlled, I struck item C. That's obviously something the mayor and I was gonna have to talk about, current job description.
Question.
And he said, yes, sir.
On item C, are we going to get down to find out what the old job description was?
Apparently, we don't have one. The mayor said he submitted what we have, so.
Is it not worth digging to see about Chief Miller changing his own job description? Because I found that highly irregular and needs to be set a precedent that that's not allowed to do. If it seems wrong that someone could change their own job description.
My position at this point is that's already gone. That water under that bridge has already moved on. And the only thing we can do, I understand that, sir, so I'm trying to answer. So the only thing we can do is deal with what we've got now, and that's making sure we have a solid job description and an expectation of the chief or interim chief that's there at this time. So as we move forward, then we'll be able to, that'll be under our watch. That'll be where we have our.
Well, if we're not gonna be part of the ad hoc committee, and we're not gonna be able to go over the job description during the ad hoc committee, I'm not sure, I really find it offensive and disrespectful that we're not allowed to be on the committee because there's some kind of bias with us. We're just trying to help you guys out here. And I feel like there's contention here. Maybe it's just a lot of testosterone, I don't know. But I would like for the consideration of commissioners to be on the ad hoc committee, because we actually have to approve everything. And I feel like, you know, that doesn't make any sense to me, folks, that we're not on the ad hoc committee. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I understand where you're coming
It's a
from.
matter of state law, and I'm more than happy to work with you to change state law.
Well, ad hoc is just a committee to look at what we would like to submit, not.
If you want to just discuss the job description, I'll be more than happy to include commissioners. We cannot interview candidates.
So you're saying that Mr. Poss, who's been appointed interim chief, we are not allowed to speak to him?
Not allowed to interview him. That's the law. That's not my rule.
Legal, is that appointment has been made, is that not right?
No, that's the one word I haven't heard through this whole meeting, and that's what kicks off whether the commission can interview him or not.
He made that appointment last.
I'm hearing
month.
appointment of interim director.
The interim chief, yeah. Commissioner Jones, can you?
That's different than an appointment for consideration for director or chief.
So that, I'm sorry, I was distracted. That is or is not an appointment?
That's different. It's the mayor appointing an interim until the commission has decided on who it's gonna be. And the law is specific that, that prior to the announced appointment, that the commission has no authority to interview the prospect. Once somebody's officially said the words, "I am appointing so-and-so for this position," the commission can then ask questions. But I'm not hearing that word.
Is that not what we did last month?
I heard, y'all, way I understand it, unless there's a miscommunication, an interim has been appointed.
Not an actual.
Not an actual candidate.
No. In his words, that will be the person he
It
is
may
putting
be,
forward.
but is it right now?
Is it the
So he's the
person?
interim.
Yes.
It is the person you're putting forward for the
Yes,
real
it
spot.
will be
There
the
you
person
go.
that I'm putting forward.
Okay,
There you go.
once the mayor said, "I'm appointing so-and-so," then you all can interview that person.
Can you change that from will be to I'm appointing that person?
You cannot interview that.
Prior to appointment.
Prior to appointment, but if you appoint him, we can interview.
I will be appointing him as the EMS chief to be confirmed by the county commission.
Okay, if I could speak.
Sure.
I'm not confirming anybody that I don't talk to, whether it's official or not official. I'm gonna call the man, and if he wants to meet with me, fine. And there's nobody that can stop me from doing that, because I can just ask him questions on my own. We've done that with several other positions. If he chooses not to take any questions, my vote is no, because that's a red flag to me. So if you're saying that you appoint him today, that lets our law director know that from the statute, that we now have the ability to interview. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
So Mr. Mayor, can you say I appoint him tonight?
That is incorrect, and if you do that, you will be in violation of TCA 56106.
It's a voluntary question answer. He can choose to or not.
But you're holding him accountable for adhering to the law. Because you said you'll vote no if he doesn't answer your questions. If he
I
doesn't
have to
submit
vote
to
no
your
because I don't know him.
interview, well,
It's a catch-22. Do you see what I'm saying?
listen, it's not my law.
That's
Okay,
not my
I didn't write the law, I didn't run it
Yeah,
through the
that's-
legislature. CTAS
That's a
agrees with
twisted
it, that's the
interpretation.
way it is.
Point of order. Go ahead.
I'm confused. So when I went out to EMS last week and went upstairs to say hello to Mr. Poss, he had business cards on his desk that said chief. Now, I don't understand why that happened. I don't know what the purpose, I don't know, I don't care, but I'm confused about it, because with that on there as chief, that assumes that he was interim chief. And so was there an email sent to the employees that that was happening? I'm trying to get to the bottom of this
Yes.
because I want to make sure that it's on the level.
Yes, we saw all that. It was sent to everybody in the county that he's the
Mr.
interim
Chairman.
chief, and he
Yes.
would be the
May I
appointment.
make a suggestion? We are sort of at a point of spinning our wheels.
Correct.
We're not going to get anywhere. We have a county commissioners association that we should consult, and we should consult with our attorneys. There's a lot of things that we need to do before we just throw out things here at the table. I would suggest we understand the mayor's position. We know our position. I would suggest that we move on.
Very well. All right, so next is 14D, request for a resolution to purchase of controlled equipment fiscal year 2023 Homeland Security Grant. And I so moved. Second by Commissioner Harris. Any
Mr.
questions?
Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Mayor, Mr.
It's all right.
Chairman. This is an issue that I have given a great deal of thought to. And I think that it's something that we can all go home and still be friends and not have to lose any friendships over. I certainly don't plan to lose any about it, but I would like to state my feelings about this, my opinions. First of all, last week I was totally disgusted, and it really sort of turned my stomach to hear a report from the committee in Minneapolis that was reporting on how they were going to defund the police and eventually practically do away with the police. And one of the members of the committee stated that she had a neighbor call her and say, well, what are you going to do when you need a policeman? And the only thing she could respond to that was, well, I just have to realize that's always been my white privilege. We're in a very difficult time today. And the thing that I want us to realize in the discussion of this is that criminals have changed, society has changed, it's gotten more difficult, it has gotten much harder to enforce the law and keep the law. I carry a .38. Years and years ago, I can remember when policemen carried .38s. It was the weapon of choice. Well, they can't do that today. They'd be outgunned. So the police departments have to keep up with whatever is happening out there. There's just no other option. And I'm not saying this to debate anyone, but I'm an ex officio member as chairman of the commission of this committee. But I will say that when this issue reaches the floor, if it does, I will be voting for it because of the fact that things have developed in our society where we have to keep up and stay a step ahead of the criminal element. And am I concerned about militarizing the police? Well, it was quite different when I visited the airport a few weeks ago and saw the guards there with the larger than ordinary weapons. It's necessary now. And I'm not concerned with militarizing the police. If they need that, whatever it is, they need it. And I think we ought to be, if possible, very supportive of them. And our goal should be to help citizens be safe and secure within themselves. And number two, that police officers go home at the end of the day to their families.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Chairman or Commissioner Jones?
I was Always got something.
Never would've thought.
Always got something. Mr. Chairman, I also just want to express my feelings on this matter. I don't disagree with anything with what Mr. Hyde said, Commissioner Hyde said. I just want it to be known that there's more nuance to this situation than what a lot of people that are polarized are jumping on. I would challenge that I probably am closer to what happened to the Covenant situation than most people in this room. I had a family member in the classroom that got shot at. So my heart is very much into this, in protecting children and protecting the police. The question of this vehicle was proposed as what is best for our county, but the people that proposed the vehicles on Facebook posts, myself included, were giving options with both included in the options as something that we would look at. The threats, by some people I don't understand about it being a scary vehicle. I don't understand it personally, but it is real to them, so I have to respect that. The threats by some people of militarizing the police under the current administrations that we have in the counties that we have, I don't worry about that at all. But administrations come and go. And so that is also a real consideration to think about. I think it would go a long way for sheriff's departments or municipalities to make a statement that they would be against holding up any unconstitutional laws if given down from the federal government. That is a real threat in a lot of people's minds. And so these are the things we consider when we as county commissioners have to listen to our constituents who we're up here to represent. This is not listen to the professionals, they know what they need. We have to listen to our constituents also and consider what the professionals are saying that they need. So all these things are considered. There are so many more facets to this. So please get the narrative right, no matter how this goes. When you're talking about it amongst your friends and colleagues here, that's something that's really bothered me. And like I said, there's nobody whose heart's more in it than mine. I like the vehicle. I think it's cool, but it's whether or not it's the best fit. That's all I want to say.
All right, Commissioner Jones. Everybody's in the queue.
I know a lot of you don't know, but I used to be in the military a long time ago, back when I didn't have gray hair. I also took the class at the Gallatin Police Department for citizens to be on, I called it my citizens arrest kind of class, and I learned about their vehicle, and I had actually been in these vehicles when I was in the military, so I wasn't afraid of them. One thing I want to say, I am a victim of someone shooting up my home, one of my homes, and this happened 3 days ago. One of my homes was shot up because my renter, a young woman with 3 babies, was in her home, and a drive-by shooters came by and shot at my home. The fear of people and the things that are going on out in our community is real. Affected me, affected all of us. I personally think that the Bearcat, because it has the capability to contain stretchers, I understand that it has the ability to carry stretchers, that it can carry equipment, not only just to use for the gentlemen to come out and do their work, but also if they need to transport victims, it can use that. So, and I understand about federal dollars. There's one person right here that hates the federal government, and that is me. I don't like them. I think they stink, and I think they're out to get us. But we have to keep our people safe and our children, and I have grandchildren in school. So I'm for this machine or this vehicle, but I also want people to realize that we have to protect the people that protect us, And we also have to protect our teachers, our students. And also, you forget, we have people that are in nursing homes that can be victims of shootings. We have a lot of people that are very vulnerable to the violence that we have today. And I just hope that we all think about that, because for me, I haven't slept for days because of this. So that's my 10 cents. So, thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
So I got a lot of criticism from people because, just full disclosure, I was for the Bearcat since day one, because I educated myself by talking to some members of law enforcement. I even took it a step outside of Tennessee because I felt like, let me talk to somebody that's not attached to the community, just to kind of have an unbiased, not saying that the police here are biased, because they're not, but just have another opinion. Retired NYPD. He educated me on it, said, you know, these officers have a lot of equipment they carry. Bulletproof vests, tools to get into a building. I don't know the exact names of them, but to get into the building. This allows them to maybe get into a building without having to carry heavy equipment and being shot at. We all lived through 9/11. What's to say something like that doesn't happen here in Sumner County, where some of my critics were saying, well, get 2 or 3 Suburbans instead of 1 Bearcat, because we can deploy if we have 3 situations. Got another education on that. If that's shot at, it's got to be brought to the body shop, because that metal is, been compromised, where a Bearcat can hold up a lot better. So this notion, someone was like, well, we can borrow one from another county. Well, what if they're using it? Then what's our excuse? I don't want to go to bed at night voting against something that's going to help our police officers and our citizens. As a parent, I'm extremely stressed out this week since the Covenant School. I can't sleep at night. I'm not going to come up here and try to, act any different, but because I'm a county commissioner, I know we're not supposed to portray weakness, and I'm not portraying weakness. I'm portraying a general nervousness as a parent of my son that, my daughter's in college and my son goes to school, because, look, there's one SRO in the school. That man or woman that's protecting that school is by themselves. They can't, goes back to what Commissioner Schoaf said before, we can't bring it down to 0. So I lose a lot of sleep. I've lost a lot of sleep since that, because there's 3 kids that lost their lives. So to the critics of me that want to sit here and say, well, you're not conservative fiscally because you're going for 1 versus 2 or 3, you know what? I'm going to respectfully say I don't care what you think at this moment in time, because safety of our citizens and our police officers out there are more important. So I'll take the criticism. As far as the stereotypes of saying, well, we're militarizing the police, and are we militarizing NOAA? Because the education I received from the retired NYPD is NOAA uses these type of vehicles. Some of the fire departments that he was familiar with uses these type of vehicles. So what are we going to start doing? Saying, why aren't we saying militarizing the fire department then? So personally, I don't care if they want to have that perception, because you know what, at the end of the day, they present a good image, the sheriff's department. Police departments I've come in contact with have always presented a very positive image to me. To my son, the sheriff's department's been always approachable, the police department. So, I have no doubt in my mind that they can change that perception, because they have a positive image already in the community and they serve the community. So if that's all we're worried about, and some are worried about militarization, then you know what? At the end of the day, we got an excellent sheriff's department. We got very good law enforcement out there. I'm concerned for the parents. As a parent, I'm concerned that if they have to penetrate a wall at a school, I don't want to sit here and think, well, let him carry something. I want them in and out as fast as they can. I'll worry about the stereotypes another day. And that's my 2 cents on it.
Commissioner Harris.
Back a few months ago, if y'all remember, I think it was right after we were elected, it came up about the sheriff's department needing AEDs in the back of their cars. We did that. And the reason for it was we had one of our own county commissioners to pass, and it was made a statement made that if we had had that AED, he may have lived. Well, I'm gonna vote for this. As an old retired firefighter, I'm gonna help the police. Just remember that.
She's got it on there.
Let's all stick together on this. This is one thing we can all unify on and vote for the betterment of this county. Thank you.
Commissioner Wright.
Thank you. I want to thank every one of y'all for being here. I'm looking at people that have had my back on calls. I come from a very different perspective on this. I've been there, I've done that. These men and women that you see right here are the best of the best. When the crap hits the fan, they're the ones that's coming for you. 4 years ago, the end of this month, evil raised its head 3 miles from my driveway, 1.5 miles from my school. One of my kids, in case you don't know, I'm a SRO, and I'll speak on the schools here in a minute. One of my children lost their life with a bunch of others. These folks here were there, as I was. When we had our first debriefing, one of the first things I heard one of the SWAT team members say, if you're going to ask us to put our lives on the line for you, give us the equipment to do it. I'm going to put you on the spot if I can, Brandon. Folks, that night on Charles Brown Road, I'm going to borrow every one of y'all's vision for a minute. Close your eyes. Now you imagine you are trying to hunt. And folks, we were hunting that man that night. You can't see your hand in front of your face. How many pair of night vision goggles we have, Brandon? How many did we have that night that were functional?
2.
2 pairs. Folks, if we are going to ask these people to protect this county, and it doesn't matter if it's volunteer fire department, EMS, the sheriff's office, Commander Sarles, I love you to death. You're getting old and ugly, but I still love you. Our city agencies, it doesn't matter. Those people risk their lives every day for you and your family. All we, and I say we, because these are my brothers and sisters, all we're asking is give us the equipment to go home to our family. We have families, people. We have wives. We have children. We want to go home to our families. At a minimum, give us the proper equipment to do it. Thank you.
Commissioner Burgos, do you have anything?
Yes, I will be supporting this. The one caveat that I have asked, and I talked to Ken Widener about, and Eric Craddock.
On the shoulder.
I do have constituents who are concerned about the militarization of the police, etc. That's all been discussed. I don't like the idea that these vehicles will be in elementary school parking lots, letting the kids be exposed to this. I think they're fine to have when they're doing their job, but I do not want that softening in the elementary schools. And I think I've made that clear to several of you, and that is all.
Call for question.
Call for question. All right. Well, I was wanting to say something, but here we go. All those in favor for the question? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There you have it. All those opposed? All right, question's been called for, back on the original motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously to go to the budget. All right. E has already been discussed. That was just the topic that Commissioner asked to be put on there. F is the EMS operations legal. You've had a chance to review the resolution. Should this resolution come before the committee and the committee pass this resolution, would we be in violation of state law at this point, since no appointment's been made?
I see no problem with the commission trying to do any resolution they see fit. Last Attorney General opinion my office was able to pull up was specific to Lawrence County. And the AG at that time said that the Lawrence County Commission has authority to enact a resolution that places the supervision and control of the ambulance service in the commission. And if so, further delegate supervision and control to a committee of the commission. So based on my research, unless the mayor's got something I can research it's contrary, I believe you do have the authority.
Do we know when, I know at one time, back years ago, before Anthony Hope was county mayor, the EMS answered to the committee.
Correct.
Is that not correct,
That was-
Mr. Hyde?
Go ahead, John.
But it was during Anthony.
It was during Anthony's, okay.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was in 2008.
Yeah.
May, shoot, don't let me just, is that right, Clark? May of 2008, I was thinking that's when it was. Yes, May 19th, 2008, and that resolution number 0805-05. So Commissioners, you've got the resolution in front of you. That's the resolution I've drafted and put before this committee to bring the day-to-day operations back to the Health and Safety Committee. With that, I so move.
Second.
Got a motion, a second by Commissioner Smith. All those with questions, comments, concerns?
Could I make a historical note here, being the only one here 30 years?
Bless your heart.
Mr. Detective Vaughn of the Hendersonville Police Department was chairman of the Emergency Services Committee at the time, and it did run smoothly. It was seamless, and Mr. Holt came before us asking or explaining that there might be a day-to-day operation, even though we hadn't witnessed that there may be something that they needed immediate attention for, and that he was asking us to redirect authority to his office. Jim Vaughn was a good friend of mine, and he did a good job with the EMS service. As I say, it was seamless, and I had no problem with what had happened to that point. But I did vote to switch that to the mayor at that time, Mayor Holt. And I wish I hadn't, but I did, and others, just because we were in a quandary as to what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I can say that when it was under the direction of Detective Vaughn, it was a smooth operation and seamless.
So we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion has. All right, go ahead, Commissioner Jones. With the question.
You quickly went past E, and I just asking you to refresh my memory on where we're at with E. What did we decide on?
But that wasn't an action item. It was just a topic the commissioner asked it to be placed on the agenda.
Okay, are we going to have a suggestion for that? I would like to discuss possibly putting an ad hoc committee on that to come up with better procedures. There's some sensitive things that we couldn't talk about in here, and I would like to talk with the law director possibly about how we could do something in private about some of the things we can't talk about publicly, and then report back to the public of the things that we came up with, because I know the public wants to know.
So legal, where we're at is we're wanting to have discussions on, we're on E.
Okay.
discussion for improvement of security in the Sumner County schools. I can say that I'm aware that Sumner County School System has a safe school coordinator, and they do training during the summer. So I guess, legal, my question is in order to get these questions out there, due to the sensitivity of it, how is the best way to approach, or is that strictly a school issue, or a county commissioner issue, or should we roll it to old business for next month for you to get a better handle?
With the excellent back and forth communication I have with the Board of Education, I'll have to put some time into seeing if there's another way I can attack this to get some more information to better guide you through this, because
Sure.
I'm really not clear at the moment. And if I could ask one question, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The resolution that was just passed, are we sending it to budget? For
Bearcat one.
I'm sorry, the Bearcat one was getting moved to
Bearcat
budget?
goes to budget, yes, sir. It should go from this committee to budget.
And you're sending F straight to commission?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. If that's a legal path.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Coming from a SRO perspective, we need bullet resistant, there's no bulletproof, but at least bullet resistant glass in all entrance doors. Some people call them an active shooter. That individual a week ago this morning was not an active shooter. That individual was an active killer. And what stopped that individual? An officer. An officer. We need more SROs, not just one in the school. We need more than one in some schools. Number two, we need some extra SROs that I call floaters. If someone is out sick, has surgery, those individuals can fill that position. After that, if they're not filling that position to where a school is left unattended, because everybody gets sick, everybody has people that pass away, those individuals can be an extra SRO at some of the larger schools. Is it gonna cost money? Yes, it's gonna cost money. How much money do you think those individuals that lost their lives a week ago this morning, how much money are they worth? We have to ask ourselves that question. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Anyone else have any good for the cause? I think there's one final thing. Motion adjourned. So moved. Second. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.